Last summer, I presented to you guys a ranking of my top 145 Mario Kart tracks, and then a ranking of my top 71 Mario Kart Retro tracks. It was a fun way of talking about these good old things known as Mario Kart tracks, but I felt as though I didn't discuss the music quite as much as I wanted to. After all, the soundtrack of a game is quite important to me. So here we're going to be ranking things purely based on music, and you'll get to hear my detailed comments on each music track. If the track has been remade, I'll compare the music to how the retro track version may have changed it. So without further ado, let's get it started. In dead last, number 110, we have DS Desert Hills. There is just no redeeming qualities about this song, absolutely none. All we really get is this sitar repeating over and over again, with some occasional desertish sounding things playing in the background. It's basically Nintendo saying, how can we make like the most stereotypical sounding desert song ever? And by golly, they did it. And I know I describe Mario Kart songs that I don't like as boring, but what better word is there to describe this? This song is a big old snooze fest, plain and simple. It's just not good to listen to. It's a disgrace that this thing is even in the same cup as Waluigi Pinball. Oh, and the Wii version isn't much better. It sounds basically the same, just not on a DS engine. At number 109, we have GBA Boo Lake / Broken Pierre. The main reason this song is so low is because the beginning is absolutely excruciating to listen to. The whole bling 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 loop at the beginning is like nails on a frickin' chalkboard, at least for me. It just doesn't belong in a Mario Kart game. And I get it, this is a spooky track, the music is supposed to be spooky, but this just wasn't executed right. When the main melody sets in, it's rather forgettable, as opposed to being spooky. And then less than a minute in, guess what loops back? Those awful noises that you hear at the beginning. And of course you have to hear them yet again, on the final lap, sped up, that's great. Unsurprisingly, Nintendo hasn't even brought back Boo Lake or Broken Pierre yet. But if they do, I'd like to see their attempt at actually finding a way to improve this awful sounding music. At number 108, we have N64 Toad's Turnpike. I will give this song this much credit, it definitely sounds better than the first two on this list. I know what you must be thinking, well of course it does, Waluigi, you ranked it ahead of them. Well, allow me to explain. I'm also grading these songs based on how well these fit the track, and this song fits Toad's Turnpike horribly. You'd expect a chaotic track like this to be, have chaotic music, not relaxing music. I mean, look at Moonview Highway, that fits the chaos of a highway track perfectly. Now, I'm still definitely not saying Toad's Turnpike itself is an amazing music piece either. It has a nice melody to it, but it definitely gives me some elevator music vibes, which is not good. There's nothing really special about it. I don't like in the beginning where we could just hear in the background for like 13 whole seconds. The Wii U version at least improved it a little bit. The bass is certainly funky, as you'd expect with Mario Kart 8 music. At number 107, we have 3DS Cheep Cheep Lagoon. In its defense, this is probably one of the more chill songs you'll find on this part of the list. It kinda gives me Starshine Beach Galaxy vibes. But unlike Starshine Beach Galaxy, the melody is completely, and I mean completely, forgettable. I mean, when I started making this list, I was like, Cheep Cheep Lagoon, what does this track even sound like again? In theory, the melody for this song should be catchy, considering how laid back and easygoing it is. But it just isn't. The song, like many in this lower tier, is just a frickin' snooze fest, plain and simple. At number 106, we have the SNES Ghost Valley theme. It's of the same ilk as Broken Pierre / Boo Lake, in that it has a similar spooky beginning with the whole ghost-sounding music. Unlike the GBA Ghost theme though, at least this one isn't that annoying. And it is pretty cool how about 20 seconds into the song, the bass drops with the whole you know what I'm talking about. I just wish it could have been in the song longer because with it, the song is actually somewhat decent. But without it, it's just completely barren and lacking. The same can be said for the Wii version, which didn't really change from the SNES version, other than sounding less SNESy, if that's a word. At number 105, we have 3DS Shy Guy Bazaar, another forgotten song from Mario Kart 7. At least it incorporates its sitar music into a more pleasant melody than the one that can be found in the dreadful Desert Hills, but like I said, there's nothing catchy or memorable about this song at all. This song isn't painful to listen to like Desert Hills or the beginning of Broken Pierre, but there's just nothing about this song that makes you want to listen to it. It's just kinda there. Unsurprisingly, Nintendo didn't want to remake this track in Mario Kart 8, and I'm not really pumped to see it come back anytime soon. At number 104, we have GBA Riverside Park. This song is kinda all over the place. For the first 20 seconds or so of the song loop, all we get is this overpowered drumming sound with some sparse jungle music occasionally sounding off in the background, like, you hear or whatever. Then the melody of the song actually comes in, and at the very least, it's definitely more catchy than a lot of the other songs I've talked about so far. But then just as you're kinda getting into it, the song just loops back to just the drums with the occasional jungle noise in the background. It doesn't exactly make for a riveting song. And yes, this track hasn't returned yet in Mario Kart, though I definitely would be interested to see how Nintendo might improve it. At number 103, we have the SNES Choco Island theme, which is another one of those songs where you wouldn't hate listening to it. It's just like, why would you listen to it? In Super Mario Kart, a game that has plenty of 16-bit sweetness, there's this thing. It just seems kinda out of place. The elevator music sounding theme just doesn't quite fit the theme of any Mario Kart track. While I'll admit that the main melody is nice, the drums in the background just aren't doing it for me. They just don't hook me into the song. I feel like that one whistle that plays at the end of the loop should have been incorporated into the song a bit more. It just adds a bit of attitude that the song is missing. And sadly, the song sounds even worse in the DS version. It just is one of those songs where the DS engine just doesn't click with it. At number 102, we have DS Yoshi Falls. Oh, good old Yoshi Falls. There truly is nothing special about this oval-shaped track or its music. The main melody is this nice, relaxing xylophone tune, but it's not going to get stuck in your head anytime soon. It's certainly one of the more forgettable music tracks that the Mario Kart series has to offer, and the percussion in the background doesn't have much to offer either. Again, this is by no means a horrible song, but for the Mario Kart series, it kinda is. This is a series full of cheerful, memorable tunes, and then stuff like this. The Wii version sadly didn't improve things at all, it mostly sounds like the DS version. At number 101, we have Wii U Bone Dry Dunes, our first Wii U track. Mario Kart 8 had excellent live orchestrated music, and while I appreciate that there was careful effort put into every single one of these Wii U songs, this song is comparably subpar. It's another very forgettable desert-sounding song like Desert Hills, only less excruciating to listen to. It's another one of those songs where when I was making this list I had to remind myself, what does this song even sound like again? For someone who's played Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe as much as I have, that shouldn't have to happen. And no, I don't really even want to see Nintendo's attempt to remake it anytime soon. There's plenty of better tracks and music tracks for Mario Kart Tour. At number 100, we have GCN Dry Dry Desert, yet another stupid desert theme. The main melody is at least a bit more catchy than Desert Hills and Bone Dry Dunes, but it certainly still isn't anything special. Double Dash had some of the catchiest music in the whole Mario Kart series, so this song really seems out of place in that game. The drums in the background are sort of on this repetitive loop, and I don't like that either. The Mario Kart 8 version certainly sounds a lot more polished, but I still think they could have done a bit more to distinguish itself from the crappy GameCube version. At number 99, we have our first really controversial ranking of the series, 3DS Bowser's Castle. Whereas Mario Kart 7 had arguably the best Rainbow Road in the Mario Kart series, I think it had one of the worst Bowser's Castle. The music doesn't help. The main melody just doesn't hook me in for whatever reason. I can see how other people would like this song, but it just doesn't do it for me. The beat in the background just seems too slow and dreary, the melody just seems too slow and dreary, and there's nothing really exciting about this song to me at all. I honestly think a live orchestrated version of the song could make it a lot better though, and I would be interested to see what a remake would look like. At number 98, we have N64 Frappe Snowland / Sherbet Land. Yeah, there's a pretty common theme in Mario Kart. Forgettable tracks often have forgettable music. This song is peaceful sounding, and I'll admit it's definitely more pleasant to listen to than most of the other tracks you'll find on this part of the list. But it sounds more like a piece of classical music than a Mario Kart song. It belongs in an orchestra hall, not a chaotic game of Mario Kart. The one thing that does kind of make it seem like it belongs in the harmony is the harmony of the song, which is much more fast-paced than the melody, as it goes dun 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 dun. You know what I'm talking about. The DS version is worse, the Wii version is about the same. Next. At number 97, we have Wii U Ice Ice Outpost. Boy oh boy, the elevator music is strong with this one. It's another forgettable ice/snow theme like the one that I just talked about. The only reason it's a spot higher than Sherbet Land is because it sounds more polished, as it obviously should since it's in Mario Kart 8 and all. Now while most of the main melody is pretty boring, I do like the part towards the end of the loop, where the violin kicks into high gear. And I use the term high gear pretty loosely here, as there is absolutely nothing intense about this song. And there's nothing really that makes me want to see it get remade either. At number 96, we have the SNES Vanilla Lake theme. This song is really of the same ilk as the Choco Island theme. It has the same sort of boring, repetitive drum beat in the background. The one thing that distinguishes it is a slightly better melody, which is quite pleasant to listen to. But then again, so is Ice Ice Outpost and Frappe Snowland, the other two songs I ranked. Being nice and pleasant just isn't enough, you gotta be memorable. And this song has nothing to make it be remembered. And honestly, kinda surprisingly, it hasn't even been brought back at all in the Mario Kart series ever since. And no, the GBA version doesn't count. I wonder what it would sound like were it to be brought back. At number 95, we have some more controversy. DS Bowser's Castle is another Bowser, it's actually just Bowser Castle, weirdly enough, but it's another Bowser Castle theme, it just doesn't do it for me. There really isn't a main melody to hook you in. There's some ominous chorus in the background, then some sitar sounding music that just sort of sounds spookily similar to Desert Hills, and that's also mixed in, it just goes back and forth, it doesn't really click. I'd say the coolest part of the song is when you can hear neither of those two things I just described, and you sort of hear this techie sounding thing that I can't really describe at all. It just sort of goes... Sounds kind of like a clock, I don't know. It happens right at the end of the loop. Other than that, I can't really say I like much about this song. I don't really want to see it come back anytime soon either. At number 94, we have 3DS Daisy Hills. It's a nice little tune to hum along to. The melody is quite pleasing, but it's also quite forgettable, like so many other songs on this part of the list are. I do like the xylophone work on this track, but the background doesn't really do it for me. That harmony is just really repetitive, and it doesn't do anything special to add to the track. It hasn't been remade yet, and honestly, I don't want to see Nintendo remake it. It's just part of that really mediocre Mushroom Cup in Mario Kart 7. Mediocre might be too nice, actually. At number 93, we have Wii U Mario Circuit. This song just comes off as a lamer version of Mario Kart Stadium from the same game, which we'll be talking about in a different video. I do like the saxophone part towards the end of the loop, but the melody that we hear at the beginning just doesn't do it for me. Again, I appreciate the live orchestrated goodness of the song. The guitar work on the song is quite good, but like it said, that main melody that we hear at the beginning, it's just not that memorable. It hasn't been remade, and honestly, I don't care to see it be remade. At number 92, we have Wii U Twisted Mansion. Finally, a ghost theme that doesn't suck. Well, at least not that bad. It's certainly better than the other ones I've talked about. The string instruments certainly make this melody an interesting one, but my favorite part is the intro. It just really is intense and grabs your attention. But the boo sounding things in the song just really sort of distract from what's otherwise a pretty decent piece of music. It just doesn't fit in for me. Honestly, I do want to like this song, but it's just not quite compelling enough for me to put it any higher. I do wonder what a remake of this song would sound like though. At number 91, we have 3DS Toad Circuit / Mario Circuit. We're really getting into the circuit theme batch. Usually pretty catchy Mario Kart songs, just sort of generic. This one's no different. It's okay to jam to, the main melody isn't that bad, and the bass line is pretty sweet too. It's just that there really isn't anything about this song that makes me remember it. But for Mario Kart songs, you could certainly do worse. After all, I did just name like 15 songs that are worse. This song hasn't been remade yet, though I wouldn't mind it. At number 90, we have yet another circuit theme, good old Wii Luigi Circuit / Mario Circuit. I find it hard to consider any Mario Kart Wii song as part of the bad tier, but sadly that's where I'm gonna have to put this thing. The main melody is decently catchy, and unlike the background in some of the other songs, this one actually does some interesting things like some record scratching sound. But just like a lot of the other circuit tracks, this one does nothing to separate itself from the run-of-the-mill variety. It hasn't been remade yet, but I wonder how it would sound like if it was live orchestrated. At number 89, we have N64 DK's Jungle Parkway. This one might be a bit controversial as the melody is quite pleasant, honestly, and this is really one of the more unique Mario Kart songs you'll hear. It doesn't completely break from the mold of Mario Kart, and it's still very different from your typical Mario Kart song, so you gotta like how it's at least unique. It does stand out. But the drums in the background don't do anything special for me, and really the song is on a 15-second loop basically. So it does get kinda repetitive compared to, well, just about every other song in the Mario Kart series. If they added a bit more to it, it could definitely be a bit higher on my list. It was brought back in Mario Kart Wii without much of a difference. At number 88, finally, we have the Circuit Theme from the GBA. This theme goes for Peach Circuit, Luigi Circuit, and Mario Circuit. What makes this better than the other circuit themes on my list is, I don't know honestly. It's probably that section about 30 seconds in where it really starts to get grooving with the whole you know what I'm talking about. The melody gets better as the song goes along, and I do like me a song that builds up as it goes along. Starts off a little, and then it just sort of goes, oh, it's getting interesting. This song was so close to making my okay tier, and really it is an okay song, it's just on the border. It's certainly not bad, even though I ranked it in the bad tier, that's just sort of how it goes. Anyway, the DS version sounds about the same, and the Wii U version improves it with some live orchestrated music. So what do you think of my list so far? In your opinion, what are some of the more lackluster Mario Kart songs? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll see you for part 2 next week. Bye!